The Pit was about external pressures in Season 1, especially dealing with the aftermath of the shooting at the Pitt Fest. The Pit Season 2 didn't have one overarching event, but several smaller incidents, from the nearby hospital issuing a code black to the Pittsburgh Trauma Medical Center going analog, and the waterslide collapse. In its second season, the Pit was more interested in how the doctors are coping internally with compounded traumas. Many of the doctors in the Pit Season 2 seem to be on the brink, especially Dr. Robby, Wyle, whose emotional deterioration becomes a through line for how sustained crisis work erodes judgment, empathy, and control even in the most experienced clinicians. With the Pitt Season 2 set on the 4th of July, the heat in Pittsburgh functions as a constant metaphor for rising tension. Tempers flare as the staff edges closer to emotional and professional breaking points. It's hard to evaluate the Pit on a strict episode-by-episode basis because it's built more like a continuous pressure system than a collection of standalone hours. Individual episodes often function as fragments of larger emotional and procedural arcs, meaning a weak hour can still be essential setup for something devastating 2 or 3 episodes later. This ranking is structured around emotional impact first, with plot significance and rewatchability acting as secondary filters. No hour of the Pit is a standalone, but the best episodes deliver strong emotional payoffs, building on what came before. 1:52 p.m. Season 2, Episode 8. The Pit Season 2, Episode 8, 2 p.m. feels chaotic in a way that's more exhausting than exciting. Much of the hour is consumed by the mechanics of the shutdown, with logistics, confusion, and procedural scrambling taking precedence over character-driven drama. Positioned between the dramatic announcement in 1 p.m. and the shocking waterslide collapse at the end of 3 p.m., the episode plays like a breather, but not an especially satisfying one. The focus on process leaves the hour light on Robby and the personal dynamics among the staff, which are typically the show's strongest elements. Still, 2 p.m. delivers one standout moment for Joy, Irene Choi, who reveals she has a photographic memory and reconstructs the boards from memory, effectively saving the day. It's a solid installment, but the rest of the season simply hits harder emotionally. 1:47 a.m. Season 2, Episode 1. 7 a.m. works as a confident reintroduction, easing viewers back into the world while quietly setting the season's larger trajectory. The episode deftly introduces new faces like Joy, Ogilvy, Lucas Iverson, and Al-Hashimi, Sepideh Moafi, without overwhelming the established dynamics, letting them filter naturally into the rhythm of the shift. At the same time, the time jump is clearly established, with subtle character changes hinting at developments that happened off-screen. The hour also smartly plants a few lingering questions, particularly around the absences of Dr. Collins, Tracy Ifeature, and Kiera, Crystal V. McNeil. The Pit Season 2 premiere is laying purposeful groundwork, beginning with Robby's concerning motorcycle ride to work without a helmet. It was an early signal that Robby was having a midlife crisis, though also a bit of a red herring in terms of dangling an accident. 1:34 p.m. Season 2, Episode 10. The Pit Season 2, Episode 10, 4 p.m. arrives at a point in the season when nearly everyone's personal life is fraying, and the hour leans heavily into that discomfort. Mohan, Supriya Ganesh, suffers a panic attack after a conflict with her mother, only for Robby to respond with frustration rather than empathy, deepening the tension. Santos, Isa Briones, is unfairly dressed down by Al-Hashimi and Garcia, Alexandra Metz, over Langdon, Patrick Bowl, compounding the sense that communication is breaking down across the board. Mel, Taylor Dearden, is also shaken when she realizes Becca, Tal Anderson, is sexually active and building a life outside of her orbit. This is arguably Al-Hashimi at her most severe before later episodes soften her. Combined with the gross and shocking medical fallout from the waterpark disaster, there's a lot happening, but many of the interpersonal beats are difficult to revisit. 1:28 a.m. Season 2, Episode 2. The Pit Season 2, Episode 2, 8 a.m., continues the relative calm at the start of the shift, functioning primarily as setup for storylines that unfold across the rest of the season. Al-Hashimi introduces her AI app, planting seeds that will become more significant later, while her own medical arc quietly begins to take shape. For some viewers, Al-Hashimi's stroke storyline ultimately felt drawn out, and it starts here in the second episode without much clarity following her 1,000-yard stare while attending to baby Jane Doe at the end of the pilot. As a result, there's little to feel strongly about overall, with most beats serving future developments. Watching Robby and Al-Hashimi spar over how to collect urine from baby Jane Doe is a fun exchange and an early win for Robby. Mel gets a rare, sweet moment of levity for her this season in her flirtation with a patient, and her conversation with Langdon will be the last easy talk he has today. 1:17 p.m. Season 2, Episode 13. So many characters are spiraling in the Pitt Season 2, Episode 13, 7 p.m. Robby's oblique references to self-harm grow more concerning, culminating in his suggestion that Mohan's earlier patient may have been attempting to end his life. Mohan's storyline becomes one of the season's most fatalistic, and watching the patient she begged not to leave return in far worse condition is devastating. Even Ogilvy, grading earlier in the season, is humbled when a patient he bonded with nearly dies, forcing him to confront the stakes of the job. Whitaker's, Garen Howell, quiet compassion toward him reinforces how grounded he is compared to the rest of the staff. Offsetting the heaviness is Emma's, Letitia Hollard, beautiful sequence cleaning up Digby, Charles Baker, a moment that highlights her deep humanity. 10:11 a.m. Season 2, Episode 5. The Pitt Season 2, Episode 5, 11 a.m. is an especially medical-heavy hour, leaning into procedural chaos more than character-driven drama. It's a standout for anyone who appreciates a fecal set piece. The Pitt also isn't particularly subtle when making its point about the healthcare system, and Noel's, Meta Golding, role as Orlando's, William Garola, case manager.